we will talk about reservations. What are reservations? You go book a ticket to fly from San Francisco to LA. That's a reservation. You go to a spa, you make a reservation in advance, right? So, reservation is just what it is. So, in the context of inventory management, if I say I need 100 pounds of coffee from Chicago plant on Jan 10th. This says what the quantity is. This says what the material is that we want. This says from which plant we need the material from, and this says which date we need it by. Now, these are the parameters that we are very comfortable with: quantity, material, plant, and date. Now, this I, who is I? In the context of inventory management, this could represent anybody in the company. When I mean anybody, any entity or even a person who needs goods on a particular date. For example, let me qualify some of these entities. Say there is an employee in our coffee shop who wants to buy coffee from us, right? So, an employee could be an example of somebody who represents demand for coffee. Say there is a customer who places an order. When customer places order, it's called a sales order. Say there is a birthday party, and we know a birthday party in our case is represented using a project. Say, for example, the baker is baking a cake and he needs to sprinkle coffee on it. So, coffee is one of the raw materials required to bake a cake, let's say. So, the baker baking the cake creates a production order. So these are all examples of requirements that need materials: production orders, projects, sales orders, employees, cost centers, any of these entities. Now, when a customer creates a sales order, do I have to go and create a reservation? Say the customer asks for 100 pounds of coffee. Do I have to manually go and create a reservation? Not really. No. You don't have to. Or in the case of a production order, the baker needs to bake a cake. The recipe for coffee cake needs ground coffee, and he did not explicitly go and make a reservation for, say, 1 pound of coffee. Wherever the demand is procedural, You don't need to go manually create reservations. The system, SAP, will automatically create a reservation when you create a sales order. The system will automatically create a reservation for the required raw materials when you create a production order. Now, an employee asking for something like coffee is an ad hoc scenario. So that requires a manual reservation. So wherever things are ad hoc, things are not planned, in that case, you can do a manual reservation. And in the context of reservations, we typically only talk about manual reservations. Automatic reservations are always taken care by the source documents. When I mean source documents, sales order, production order, anything of that sort. And all ad hoc requirements could be taken care of by reservation. So let's go create. So these are reservations. Now, what is the point in documenting reservations? If somebody needs 100 pounds of coffee, I want to reserve it here. What is the point in creating these reservations? Why are we doing these reservations? The reason why we are doing a reservation manually is to document that there is a requirement. Okay. So there is a requirement for Jan 31st, and that was created on Jan 1st. Now, why are we documenting that reservation? How is it going to help anybody? Now, to get 100 pounds of coffee, in this case, we have just done a goods issue for two materials. Coffee beans O1, coffee beans O2. Well, we could do a goods issue because we had goods in stock. If you don't have goods, how are you going to plan how much you need? So the primary purpose of reservation is to document the requirements so that somebody who is responsible for planning that material can procure or manufacture that amount of goods. This is the sole and whole reason why you create a reservation. A reservation is created because you want to tell the person who is planning that particular material to either procure it or produce it. It's his problem, his headache. You don't care. All you're saying is, I need 100 pounds of coffee by this date. So how does this person that I'm talking about, who is responsible for planning that material, know that you have created a reservation? Let's go create a reservation. Say for coffee beans, and I'm going to give a weird number. Let's say 113. The reason why I'm doing a weird number is because I want you to see that number when I show you the reservation list. Go save it, and 66918, that's the reservation number. Now the person responsible for planning the coffee beans O1 will go to MD04, puts the material in there, coffee beans, and hit enter. Now, in the later set of chapters, when we go to MRP, you'll understand what I mean by requirements, how to work on requirements. So, for now, think of this as a list of requirements. How we act on it is not something that we're going to worry about. This is the list of requirements. There you go. You got so many of them here, right? And this column over here tells you what kind of requirement it is. Is it a requirement from a purchase order? Is it a requirement from a purchase requisition? Is it a requirement from a sales order? Is it a requirement from a production order? So on and so forth. Let's see, scroll all the way down. And you see that there is a reservation that we have just created. 11/1/2016. October 1st, 2016. And 66918, and you see the quantity is for 113. Right? You can just go double click this and view that reservation. So this is the reservation number. Click on the glasses and this is your reservation. You can go to material, what line item, blah blah blah. Click on that and you'll see the line items in that reservation. Okay, what movement type is used? Has it been deleted? What is the quantity? What is the unit of measure? So on and so forth. So like I said, requirements like these keep getting accumulated in the stock requirement list transaction. It's just a list that you can pull using the transaction MD04. MD04 not just lists the reservations, it lists all the requirements. It lists requirements coming from sales orders. It lists requirements coming from production orders. It lists requirements coming from projects, so on and so forth. Reservations happen to be just one of them. And like I said, requirements for sales orders, production orders, projects are typically created automatically. So that reservation is created automatically. So these are examples of automatic requirements. And you cannot change automatic requirements. You cannot go to MD04 or you cannot go to MB22 and change. So this is MB21. This is how you create a manual reservation. Anything that you create here in MB21, of course, can be changed in MB22 because it's a reservation that was created manually. So these automatic reservations that come in the form of requirements from these upstream orders cannot be changed. So these cannot be changed. When I mean these cannot be changed in MB22, meaning a customer has asked for 100 pounds of coffee in a sales order. It has created a requirement in MD04. Now you cannot go to MD04, select that line item, pick up that requirement, go to MB22 and change the requirement. That's not possible. Any requirement that's triggered from a source document, like a sales order or a production order, can only be changed in the source document. Meaning, if the customer asks for 100 pounds of coffee, you can go to the sales order and change the requirement to 50, 150, whatever you want. And you can automatically see that change in MD04. Again, the key takeaway from this screen is any reservation that's created manually can be changed, but any reservation that's created automatically using source documents like sales order, production order, or projects cannot be changed in MD04. And what is MD04? MD04 is a stock requirement list where all the requirements for stock of a particular material in a particular plant is displayed by SAP, and actions can be taken based off of that. And we are going to talk more about MD04 and stock requirement lists when we come to MRP. But until that point, just understand that all the requirements and reservations sit in MD04 for the planner to take actions. So these are reservations.